The Book of Ira. Who knew Ira had so much gravy? I would imagine that some of you were like, I can't even hear Ira. I'm not listening to Ira right now. Why is James making me listen to Ira? And I wanted you to hear that Ira because I want you to feel the strain of receiving data from a costume that doesn't feel good. I want you to feel that strain because it's happening all around us all the time. And it's the thing that causes you the most stress in your world is your inability, your desire to not give it up to Ira. You do not want to give it up. You do not want to admit that Ira might be hoarding some gold. That he might actually have a monopoly on the leprechauning of precious metals. Among such precious metals could be Gnosis. In fact, if you were to track back all of the religions that we have around us, you would see that a great many of them, not all, thank goodness, but a great many of them have at its center a grabbly-gook mosh pit. In the center, you have people hoarding something. And if they were not hoarding it, it actually would not have been preserved so long through so many generations. It's sort of like boarding your horse. You realize that when you board your horse, you are relinquishing your day-to-day symbiosis with that horse. You're giving it to someone else, but you're hoping it's going to pay off. And in many ways it has, because the one who hoards Gnosis the most is the one who's going to spend the most calories protecting it and hiding it from you, which means the better the chance it has of surviving through hundreds of thousands of years, through hundreds of thousands of, through dozens and hundreds of governments. It is the ability to compress. We compress things by grabbling them. We find people that have a fetish and we let them do what they do. They hoard. They hoard and fetishize this information and they keep it from you. They write it down in a book or they speak it orally to each other and they say, shh, you may not speak this to anyone else. And that really is the Book of Ira in many ways. And I have been getting in trouble lately because I am telling people that the Book of Ira is also the Book of Abraham. And the Book of Abraham is also the patriarchal scaffolding of what we call Lord, of what we call God, of what many of us think are the same, God and Lord. And I've never done an episode specifically about Dojo Earth, and I wanted to. I wanted there hopefully to be a decent record that's showing you at the heart of all this lessons of Dojo Earth is the fact that there is Gnosis in places that you are not comfortable receiving it from. And when my good friend sent me this Ira video this morning, it was absolute gold because it nailed that idea so well. It nailed it perfectly. There is a stigma among Christians right now that they don't want to be associated with Jews. They want it to be, no. Jews are wrong and we're right. The same thing exists with Islam, right? Muslims are wrong, but Christians are right. And as you try and navigate through that system, you realize that as people are telling you that they're holy and that they understand their relationship with God better than anyone else, it's just that everyone else is wrong, you start to see that there's a flaw. There's a slight flaw in that agenda because you're missing out on so much gravy that's coming from other places. And so I'd like to talk about that because I think it's inherent to Dojo Earth, right? It's exactly why we're here. We are here to solve this equation. We are here to learn how to take our salad prongs and still grab things from even Ira's buffet. Because the iguana only bites the one who doesn't dream. That is a profound piece of gravy for your biscuit there. Let's say hi to chat. Hi, Lane. Love this. Please never stop crushing. I'm going to try. I do not want to stop crushing. It's like every day I wake up and I'm like, can I crush today? Let's find out. And that's my goal. We'll see how it goes. Thank you. To attaining, maintaining, and sharing flow state. Absolutely, Mike. No, I could not agree more. Flow state is trance state. You actually want yourself in a trance because a man is a noun and a verb. In fact, we're going to talk about that. Please note, AC, DC. Okay, let's call DC the noun and AC the verb. And man is AC/DC. Man is both. All right, and there's important lessons because you can be moral by noun and moral by verb, and these are completely different things. And Greg Ornott, good morning, everyone. Love the Anointed One and I Have Raw videos. Yes, gravy was piping hot. Thank you so much. It's funny that that I Have Raw has been demonetized because it's so freaking really cool idea, this notion of aperture and how our eyes use melanin. Some of you are in chat like, no, it's melatonin. No, it's not. I'm not making a mistake. Melanin, guys. Melanin. Look it up. Because we use melanin in our retinas and in our ears, not melatonin. Melanin to physically blot out light. Melanin is a pigment. What does a pigment do? It absorbs light. That's what melanin does. All right, please consider why racism is a fetish over melanin. They want you to fetishize melanin because melanin absorbs light. You have in the back of your retina melanin. You also have dopamine, and you have inhibitors of both. All right, what your eyes are going to see is going to be directly relational to the amount of melanin that's allowed to flow in them. Some of you need more melanin to absorb the world. If you had less melanin, you would start to go crazy. People would call you a word. That word is paranoid schizophrenic. They actually have a label for people that don't have enough melanin. Dopamine and melanin are at the very heart of every single thing you perceive, think, do, feel, want, request, understand, and absorb. When you watch Ira, some of you, your melanin just blots out like an octopus going, go away, please go away. I don't want you looking at me right now. All right. The other element is dopamine. Why are all psychotropic drugs, every single psychotropic drug that was ever given to a paranoid schizophrenic, why were those drugs always, every single time, why were they dopamine inhibitors? Pump 3, we got a new car on Pump 3. It's a little green, looks like one of those Fiats, maybe. Yeah, Pump 3, it's 86 octane, good sugar water. Man, he's drinking it in too. He's even resting. He's got his little paws on the thing. It's like, yeah, Pump 3, ding ding. All right, he's out. You did not pay. Hey, man, I tell you. Biscuits up. Gonna have to put a no prepay on the pumps again. I might have to do it. So there's a lot of, I'm not gonna say it. There is a fascism that comes with this melanin and with this dopamine. And as every psychotropic drug, every drug trying to solve someone of paranoid schizophrenia, of their voices, of their visions, every single approach involved dopamine. Restrict the dopamine. Why? Because we don't really have a way to restrict melanin right now. So all we do is go with dopamine. That's why most of the time it doesn't work. I just finished Jerry Marzinski's book, and he'll tell you that the psychotic drugs help. He uses this version of help too. Help in the sense that they knock out the voices long enough where hopefully the real help, the real cure can come in. Where and it's always a spiritual path. Any kind of paranoid schizophrenic, any kind of demon possession Any kind of shamanic healing is always suggesting a spiritual path, a spiritual way of fixing the situation. And it makes you wonder, why is it only spiritual that works? And I think that has to do with because spiritual is the only way we can truly adjust our dopamine. We can truly adjust our melanin, is by being open to it, by finding our spiritual aperture, which is truly the heart of compassion if you think about it. If you truly want to understand what compassion is, what you're looking at is a definition of spiritual aperture, right? You have compassion for someone because you can picture what life's like in their tower as they look out, as they watch, right? Dojo Earth, for many of us, is the training ground for this aperture. It's not for all of us. Guys, some of us are here to pay taxes and die. Many of us are here in Dojo Earth to pay taxes and die. You are surrounded by people that are here in Dojo Earth to pay taxes and die. That is the default, right? Death and taxes. That's the default that you're supposed to understand. And that's what you're taught from a very young age. And many are content with that. Many are insulted by you suggesting otherwise. And as you start to wonder why you're here, as you start to look, many of you will look to religion. You will look to the Bible. You will look to spirituality for these answers. And when you start to come in, you're going to get hit in the face with a board because someone's going to tell you, oh, you're wrong. You're wrong. You're wrong. That's not how you do God. This is how you do God. And you notice that the aperture's gone, but they're pretending that it's spiritual. Someone spiritual who's pretending to be spiritual is telling you that your aperture's wrong. And you now have made it to the point in your vista, which is probably why you're watching this stream, where you realize those guys are not spiritual. Those guys don't know what the fuck they're talking about. And you start to uncover a freedom to cosmology. Some of you might even uncover a necessity to cosmology. Some of you, like me, may consider it your sacred duty to develop the most fulfilled, embellished, rendered and colored cosmology that you can possibly make while you're here in life. You are sitting down at the table with crayons and you're coloring a picture for God. And that coloring is your cosmology. And as you're coloring it, kids are coming up to you going, that's fucking wrong. You don't have God right. How dare you suggest that this or that or that or this. And that's Dojo Earth, baby. That's Dojo Earth. This is not supposed to be easy. God wants you to use crayons and strife. He likes that. And so as you've been following along with this Dojo Earth, you start to look at this concept of Lord technology, right? This idea that God has a partner, that God works with another entity in some way. And we don't know their relationship. We don't even know if they have a relationship, to be honest. I'm going to get to that. Most people are going to be like, oh, what are you talking about? Just hear me out. There is God and there is Lord. God is the mother, Lord is the sensei. All right? God is the mother or the father or both. I don't care how you look at it. God is the parent, Lord is the sensei. All right? The parent does not smack the child in the face with a board. Sensei does. Life does. Why would our parent want sensei to smack us in the face with a board? Because of Dojo Earth. Because we came into Dojo Earth. The best way to understand this concept is to realize that your amnesia was your ticket. You were not allowed into the dojo without the golden ticket of amnesia. And by taking that golden ticket, you stepped in and you have no idea how you got here. You have no idea why you're here. You have no idea who put you here. You don't even know if your parents exist. All you know is you're surrounded by kids with white belts kicking the shit out of each other, telling each other how wrong they are. And you process it the wrong way. You feel isolated. You feel alone, right? You get all irate sometimes. Whatever it is, you process that as best you can, and you victimize yourself. You decide you are a victim to dissonance. And as you start to emerge from the rabbit hole, as you start to see through the psychopathy reveals itself. It shows itself to you when you finally say, I have to believe that this is real. I have to see what's real. And you initiate yourself into Dojo Earth as a green belt, whatever the next color is. I don't know karate. Please don't take me as a karate guy. But from white belt, you move up to that next color. Maybe it's yellow belt. That yellow belt is I'm scared. There you go. Next belt is yellow. We're making it yellow. Okay? The next belt is you're scared. You're scared because you see psychopathy is there. And white belt, you didn't see psychopathy. Things were just temporarily broken. There was actually order in the world. Everybody was actually good. There just happened to be a few bad guys wandering around, but it's no problem because the white hats are there to get them, right? That's white belt. Yellow belt, I'm fucking scared because there's all these psychopaths around. They're out to enslave me. They're out to trick me. They're out to make my life miserable and treat me like shit because they hate me. They're out to mock me. They're out to do this. And then you find most of the true channels, right? It's another day. They're trying to enslave us. Yeah, they sure are. It's amazing we've been able to survive. It must just be our sheer raw ingenuity that they haven't caught us yet. And that's yellow belt. It's a good place to be. No issues there. All right? And then you start to notice. You get better. And you find a green belt. You find that there are certain psyops that have been in place that actually weren't there to hurt you. You're kind of confused by this. You're like, wait a minute. How does this math work? Why is it that there are certain psyops that are here to actually help me? And you get confused. Terry Elrod, thank you for the super chat. Again, this gravy is thick with James. Thank you so much. Thank you, I appreciate that. You get confused by it. And some of you get so confused you don't even see it. And that's okay, you don't have to see it. Because anyone else who's a yellow belt has already realized what others see means absolutely nothing to me. See, white belts, you're going to be basing what you see on what others see. It's going to make you feel better or worse based on that. But green belt means you're noticing things. You're noticing things it's almost like sensei is pulling punches. And anyone with a yellow belt's like, how dare you suggest that he's pulling punches? We're getting killed here. No, they're taking everything. They're shoving us with needles. They're forcing these needles on us. They're forcing education on us. They're forcing us to eat this food. They're forcing us to watch their television. They're forcing us to buy their new car. They're forcing us to go into this cubicle. Death and taxes, right? I fear death and taxes. I fear death and taxes. But you've been playing this game long enough. And you're like, but what about Building 7? What about the fake school shooting? Why would you fake a school shooting? Why would you fake it? If this is truly an evil cabal that's here to enslave us and drink our blood and peel our face off and have pedophilic sex with our kids as they trade them over the black market for this secret birth certificate thing that's united with this Masonic grand vision of this Illuminati reptilian core, why the fuck would they fake a school shooting? Why would they show you Building 7 fall? Why would they film it and release that film? Why would they not just call the TV station and say, let's not release that footage anymore. Okay, boss, no problem. Why would they not do that? And this is you reaching for the green belt. Green. There's probably a different color in there. Freak out all you want, karate guys. I get it. But green. Building 7's green. And it's not just Building 7, is it? Right? It's fake school shootings. It's Building 7. It's the NASA Challenger. Why would you not kill the NASA Challenger? It would be so easy. There's just 7 people. You know, regardless of what you think the story is, if it was a planned explosion or an accident, regardless of that, why would these evil overlords not come in and just kill 7 astronauts? Why not? Greenbelt. And when I hear truthers channels tell me they're so evil that they have to get our consent, and I'm just like, wait, what? How are those two things congruent? No, James, they're so evil that they have to get our consent because they use it to mock us. That's why. And I'm always just like stupefied by that, because literally the definition of evil would be the wanton lack of any kind of forethought, of any kind of concern, of any kind of equalness. And to have this mocking tone is to sink to our level in their eyes, to step down to our level and say, ha, I'm going to mock you. This is what you see in every Hollywood movie, right? In every Batman episode, right? Before I kill you, Batman, I'm going to tell you my entire plan, including the combination lock to the thing that's going to save the princess, right? You enter into these negotiations. And that's not what evil is. That's not really how this works in the world. What we're seeing around us is a constant begging of consent. Constant. And exposure. They're telling you what they're doing, which means they don't actually want to do it. Right? The guy that tells you in the bar, I'm going to fucking kill you, is a guy that doesn't want to kill you. That's literally what that words mean. I'm going to fucking kill you literally means I don't want to kill you. But because we're only yellow belts, we don't see that. It's only the green belts that are like, why show us COVID during the Olympic ceremony? That's fucking weird. Why cut the heads off of all the saints a week before the fire, airlift them like a rapture ceremony, and then set the roof on fire? Why show all that inside 2012 iPet Goat? Why release all the documents about Satelloons? Why? Why allow all the NASA photos that show you the multiple lighting sources and the shadow disclosures? Why? Why show you all that stuff? And the answer is the green belt. And the only way you can get that green belt is you have to unfurl yourself from a curled up ball of victim and look at what the dojo for what it truly is. There is a two-way glass, a mirror glass. There's a mirror glass in the dojo. When you look in the dojo, you see yourself. But behind that glass is your parent, the one who sent you here. The one who asked you before you entered, are you sure you want to go in there? And you said, totally. This is going to be awesome. And that parent looked at you and said, you're not going to know anything once you go in that door. And you're like, yeah, I know. I really want to go in there. The parent's like, last chance. You're like, would you stop? Come on. I told you I want to go. Jeez. And then 20 years later, you're curled up in the fetal position doing heroin, and you just had some weird fucking dumpster exchange with. Anyway, what we all come in and do our best that we can, right? And to make ourselves feel better, we're constantly telling each other how wrong they are, how their macaroni drawing of God is not consistent with the blueprints of the macaroni of God that were written so long ago. And somehow that makes us feel better as a white belt or a yellow belt, to tell other white belts and yellow belts, you don't know how to be a yellow belt, you'll never be a yellow belt. And slowly, outside of the mosh pit, these green belts emerge. And they start to look to each other and start to wonder about their own sovereignty. They start to wonder why they're actually here. And they come up with all kinds of crazy stories, right? And they should. And I'm really, frankly, getting tired of people telling me how wrong someone is. Every day I see that on Twitter. Someone else is telling someone else how wrong they fucking are about God. And it shows you the psychopathy that's around, the quickening, right? We talk about this all the time, but this notion that there can be only one is a quickening. It's an evil spell that we cast on each other inside the dojo. It's the game of tag, if you think about it. There can be only one it, right? When you play it, only one person can be it. And so you enter into this trance state where everyone's like, oh God, I'm not it. Are you it? No, you're not it. That guy's it. And that's what creates this festering gravelly munch. Judaism, Islam, Christianity. You are all children of Abraham. And I need you to shut the fuck up trying to tell me you're not. You Christians who are insisting that you have nothing at all to do with Allah or Islam. You're not even reading your own fucking shit. Because you're too afraid. Because you're sitting in the corner going, no. I'm not a canary yellow belt. I'm a primary yellow belt. And it's fucking ridiculous. You are never going to find your way out of here if you're going to keep playing this quickening game. Alright? Both of you guys, Christians and Islam. Guys, all your data came from Jews. They did. Moses went to Mt Sinai, and he brought down two things, not one, two. He brought the Torah, and he brought the Mishnah. Torah, written word. DC, one-way current. Mishnah, spoken word. Two-way current. AC. AC, DC. AC, DC. If you understand the truth of how this works, you see that the oral tradition is older than the written tradition. And I'm hearing guys argue with me that somehow before anyone spoke a word, they wrote it down first. And I'm watching Christians get so bent the fuck out of shape because I tell them that the oral tradition came before everything that you've seen written. Before everything that you saw written, there was only the spoken word. In fact, most of our countries were birthed in civilizations that actually thought the written word was tainted and should never ever be used. They felt that the moment you wrote down the spoken word, someone was going to fucking grabble it. Someone was going to screw it up and start telling everyone else, you're wrong, you're wrong. You don't understand the true meaning of Christianity because you think that Jews had something to do with it. And it's fucking insane because literally half your book, half of your freaking book comes from this tradition. And you shouldn't be ashamed of it. You should let this live in your faith. You should let it make it stronger. In the cave of Patriarch lies Sarah, the bones of Sarah. And the Bible tells you she will be the mother of many, many nations. Abraham, right? Changed his name from Abram to Abraham. He's the father of many nations. It's beyond weird to listen to Christians try and argue with me as I'm trying to agree with them about how cool God is, about how cool this system is that we have here in place. But you're not allowed to have that discussion with them because they're playing this game of it where there can be only one. And if that's how we want to spend Dojo Earth, I'm not here to convey this is how we should be living in Dojo Earth. But I'm losing patience with the yellow belts. I'm losing patience because they're pissing in the kiddie pool. And they're pointing at you and saying, how dare you not piss in the pool with me? How dare you not eat asparagus? How dare you not come in here and bring the warmth? It's fucking disgusting. I need you guys to grow the fuck up. We all need you to do that. Alright? Which means you don't fucking have a secret connection. You don't have God's text digits. You don't get to text him when we're not looking and have special relationship with him and then come out and tell everyone how wrong they are because they told you that Moses had an oral tradition too. Yeah, literally having guys tell me that Moses went up to Mount Sinai and God said nothing to him at all, that there was no word spoken at all, and that the entire tradition came down on stone, written in the Ten Commandments and nothing else. Because that's what it means for them to think that they had nothing to do with the Jews. And when they hear words like Talmud, they lose their shit because they don't do their homework. You guys need to do your fucking homework. I get how much you freak out about the Talmud. And you say, oh, it's the secret doctrine that was here to invert and kill everyone and go around and it's just secretly telling it. No, it's not. Right? It's huge. It's huge. And they only started writing it down about 1,000 years after they kept it. It was an oral tradition. You guys need to understand that back then in the time of Judaism, if you were to study and to enter into this dojo with other men, you had to be 40 years old, you had to be rich, and you had to have the time. You had to speak the language, 2 languages, and only then were you allowed into an inner circle where you get to argue with others about what you think God told Moses, about what you think the Torah means. And you guys are like, no, the Talmud is when they inverted everything and said you have to fuck kids. And it's like literally not even close to what happened. Sabbatai Zevi. I'm sorry, I'm getting upset. Sabbatai Zevi was a bipolar Jew. And he wandered from city to city, constantly battling deep depression. Like massive depression. And like anyone who suffers from depression, he thinks deeply. He looks deeply at things. And he was charismatic as a result. Why? Because people would see, wow, you're deep, man. That guy's really deep. And Zevi was constant, just up and down, up and down, up and down. And what you're calling the Talmudic evil was actually started by Zevi. And it had nothing to do with the Talmud. He said the Torah law needed to be inverted. The Torah. And he did exactly what Native Americans said. Hey, don't do that. Don't write it fucking down. Because this is what happens. What they said would happen happened with Zevi. And you guys got it wrong. Because what Zevi did is say, we have to do whatever the Torah says. We have to do the opposite. And everyone in town's like, does that mean you're going to sleep with my wife? And Zevi's like, yes, I get to sleep with your wife. And you're going to have to sleep with your son and your daughter. And I need you to take the roof off your house because God's coming next Tuesday. And I'm the only one who's fucking right, so you better listen to me. And everyone around them's like, God, he's got a lot of passion. I just built that roof. Oh, Ira's the one who built it too. He gave me an insurance policy. I never heard of insurance before, but he said, yeah, if a tornado comes, he'll replace it. So I'm going to go ahead and pull my roof down because I think God would count as a tornado. And I was like, no, that doesn't count. That's a supernatural. It's not in the policy. You need to look at the policy. Those people followed Zevi because they're the same guys that are wandering around saying, you're wrong. You don't know what it's like. You don't understand. You have to follow this rule. And as you keep looking for evil in the Jews, all you're going to find is that Jews are like anyone else. They have some pretty fucking evil people in there. Yeah, Ira, you got to watch Ira. You definitely have to watch Ira. But Ira also hoards gold. He does. He's got some nuggets in there. I cannot imagine how many times this video will be demonetized. And that's fine. It's totally cool. It's just funny. This is why I started talking about Dojo Earth. About Lord technology, by the way. Let's see if I have that here. What I mean by that is that if you think about God as a circle and Lord is the square, I know you're looking at a rim frame, a star, but I think it's even easier to adopt Marty Leeds' take that it's a square. And you're entering that ring. That dojo. And what you think is God is Lord. And that's why you're so confused when you read the Old Testament, because you're like, God's a fucking cruel dude. And here's another thing that really throws me off, is that I get these yellow squirters that are like, and God wasn't even cruel in the Old Testament. I don't see how you even think that. And he literally came up to Abraham and said, dude, I'm going to hook you up. Abraham's like, really? He's like, yeah. You're 90 years old, you're going to have a baby. Your wife, she's going to get pregnant. He's like, but she can't. No, don't worry. I'll get her pregnant. And you're going to rule nation after nation. He's like, really? He's like, yeah, man. Pick you. Abraham's like, damn, that's pretty sweet. He's like, yep. I just need you to pull your dick out on the table and cut the end of it off. And Abraham's like, you mean like now? And he's like, yep. Give it up. And because you think that's God, you're like, oh, shit. What do I do with that? What do I do with that? And if you're Abraham, you know what you do. You put your genitals where your mouth is, right? Put your, just the tip. That's what you tell yourself. Then you take all your kids, anyone in the house, and you do the same thing. And you guys are like, yeah, you just don't understand God's love, James. And I'm like, what if that's Lord? What if that's not God? What if that's Lord? And that's when you lose the yellow belts, because they're like, you can't be fucking talking like this. How dare you, right? The invention of Ira. How dare you? How dare you suggest that Yahweh and Allah are the same? How dare you suggest that Solomon and Suleimane are the same? How dare you suggest that angels and jinn are the same? How dare you suggest that the Cave of Patriarchs holds the bones of Sarah, Isaac, and Jacob, the literal birth parents of all three religions, are kept in the same tomb and guarded by Jews? Is it because they have nothing to do with each other? Or are we going to go back to the game of playing the quickening again? This should not insult your faith. If anything, it's to make you see the Logos survived for so long, and the only way it could survive is if a bunch of freaking fetish hoarders kept it safe. If you start to look at the world as a resetting paradise, a zone where it keeps resetting over and over again, naturally through a long cycle, you could understand how important it would be to find someone with a fetish for hoarding and entrust them with Logos. That's why Ira has Logos. Even though he doesn't know it, even though he doesn't show it, it still falls out of his pocket when he walks around. But you won't see it because you think Christianity is somehow a separate religion that has nothing to do with Islam or Judaism. And you're insane. If you really want to look at, I get arguments over this and I don't care. It's fine. The oral tradition, the Mishnah, the Talmud, the oral tradition, thousands of years, carried orally. That's the screenplay. The Torah is the script. You're actually writing this down, right? And then from that, you end up with sequels. Sequels built on this story, this concept of Yahweh, of Allah, of Jehovah, of Zoroaster. This concept of a central God, a jealous God, a vengeful God, a God that's first two commandments are strictly about obedience to me and the denial of anything else. Those are the first two commandments. And not once in those commandments does he tell you not to lie. He doesn't say, thou shalt not lie to thyself or anyone else. No. It says, you will not bear false witness to your neighbor. That's a very specific case. You have, the truth is right in front of you. But no one gave you permission to consider that maybe God and Lord are separate. That maybe they work together or maybe they don't. Now, to make this easier to understand, I've been suggesting to you guys that you look at them as the same. That God created Lord technology to help you. But I want to push your aperture here. I would like to suggest to you that you consider, God, this is going to hurt some of you. Because you think man and humanity are evil and unnatural, you're going to hate what I'm about to say. But what I'm about to say is that Lord technology could have been invented by man, and because of that, God is still working through us. And here's what I mean. When I was little, my mom turned the garage into a play fort den where we lived. And she had a zone. We had a Lego zone and a non-Lego zone. And that was it. There were not rules inside the garage. There was not a play schedule. There was not a suggestions of things to play or do. There was not an edict about what's fun and what's not fun. All she gave us was a zone and freedom to play. And she entrusted us that we would learn how to either share or not share, right? To enjoy ourselves or not enjoy ourselves. To create our own games or not. And the reason why I'm bringing this up is because I think if my mom would have set up these games and said, yes, here's where you play rocking horse, here's where you play ball and chain, here's where you do this, here's where you do that, it would then be natural for me to come complain to her because I'm not having fun. And we ourselves could complain to God saying, you gave us a sensei that's too hard. You're the one that made sensei, therefore you're the one torturing us. And I get arguments like this all the time. Which is why it's profound to me to consider that maybe we created sensei. And maybe we created sensei because we knew God was behind the two-way mirror outside looking in, watching us practice, watching us learn. And maybe some of us who are inside the dojo are so convinced that God's outside of there that he thought what would impress God the most is if we made our own sensei and we began our own advancement and went up from green belt to blue belt or whatever the hell's next, or purple belt or black belt. And that all this has been a climb up Jacob's ladder that we chose to do ourselves. If you had a dojo like that, when you get out of that dojo, it's impossible to look back and feel victimized. No one feels victimized when they go to the gym voluntarily. You can feel tired, you can regret it, but you won't feel victimized if you're the one that took yourself there. And I think that's a profound lesson to keep in mind as you're looking around this Dojo Earth. As you're contemplating what it's all here for, you know? Thanks for the super chats, guys. I'm seeing them rolling in here. Yolinda Bear. Love the 9/11 reference. Love you, buddy. Thank you. I am not here to tell you here's the truth. I'm not. But I'm here to give you ammunition from all the fuckers that are telling you, you're wrong. You don't know what the fuck you're talking about. That's what I'm here for. I'm here to give you ammunition against them. Because I want your macaroni painting. I want your drawing, your crayon drawing of God, to be as you can possibly make it. I'm so afraid that we're going to show up outside Dojo Earth and God's going to say, what did you make? And it's like, oh, I made this idol where I worship the Lego chest where we keep the Legos. And I think God would still forgive you for that. I don't think that God is expecting you to have a right answer. But instead of drawing a picture of mom, you're drawing a picture of the Legos. I think you could be missing something there. It could be that Lord technology is not God. It could be that the reason why God did not give you a manual, a written manual, the reason for that is because he didn't want you to have one. Because he knew if he gave you a manual, you would be inside your play yard complaining, this isn't fun enough, right? This isn't how this should be done. And it requires a lot of self-electricity to even think things like this, right? Prairie Bear gets it. So does Joshua Reisman. Without evil, there would be no good. It would have no meaning. You're exactly right. You're exactly right. And we fetishize our fear of evil instead of actually battling it, don't we? Listening to Owen for like a year now and found your channel recently. I like your gravy, so here, thank you. So here's some fiat, literally. Thank you so much. So glad. Thanks to Yorba Linden Bear. This, to even consider that God and Lord are separate, to even walk in to a room with the Christians like I was describing that are going to tell you how wrong you are, it's going to require a certain amount of ego. It's going to require a lot. They're going to fight you at every turn. You're going to make them nervous because they start to see it too. Wait a minute. I didn't think you... Wait. We're allowed to imagine here? We're allowed to... Wait a minute. Legos can go any way we want? I thought we were supposed to build the drawing that's on the back of the Lego box. You know, the Tower of Babel. I thought we were supposed to do that. And I was like, yeah, you're totally supposed to do that. I'm telling you. Yeah, we got to hoard this stuff. And you have an opportunity to build whatever you want here. And some of you right now are, no, I'm afraid. I'm afraid. God's going to punish me if I get it wrong. And if God's going to punish you for getting it wrong here, I think your problems are much worse. Because you're being ruled by a God that's, frankly, something out of a book by Ira. It's weird kind of thing. Don't be scared of faith. Don't be scared of taking that crayon to paper and saying, this is what I think God is. Why else would we be here? Except for to wonder these things. It's like, oh, well, the Bible. It's like, yeah, you don't know. You don't know where that book came from, guys. I know you think you do. But if I can pull 6 Christians from this morning as I'm drinking coffee who insist that it had nothing at all to do with a Jew named Moses. We don't fully know. But what you do know is yourself. What you do know is what's deep inside your core. This electric being inside of you. And you're allowed to get things wrong. There's so much to this world that we don't know yet, that we can't understand, right? We have auras. We have literal color coming off of us. Most of us can't even see it. Carillion photography shows us how the electrical fields will fall off and shed around us. But none of us ever really get to see them. Everything has a signature to it, an electrical signature. And the good life is you finding that again. There are signs out there that tell you where the good life is. But they're hard to find if you don't think they're there. Just like your aura, just like your compassion, just like someone's emotions, right? Look at the emotions in all of these aura images. Podcasters, it's just 8 pictures of people's auras. You can see this white aura, all these greens, these reds. You can feel the emotion in each of them. You can feel the leaks. One day, all of us are going to be able to see this in real time. Why? Because we're going to move the melanin and the dopamine, and we're going to get away from these fucks that are telling us how wrong we are all the time, or that it's melatonin instead of melanin, and we're going to start to see the world for what it truly is. And we're only going to do this because we're together. Because we're working on this together, which means sometimes Ira's going to tell you something. And it's going to have some gravy in it. But you're not going to be able to listen to it if you're pissed and you're like, no, I can't, no. Yahweh and Allah can't be the same. It can't be. Even though they fucking are. There's nothing wrong with being a child of Abraham. If you truly want to be a child of Abraham, learn who your fucking brothers are. Because pretending that it's not is insane. Pretending that all of this didn't start with the genital cult is insane. Pretending that, how Isaac and Abraham, they both did something, didn't they? Isaac pimped out Rebekah, his wife, pretending to be his sister. And Abraham did the same thing to Sarah. Cain, think about it. Cain and Abel. God showed favoritism to Abel. Cain got mad. He got mad and squirted and killed. God didn't kill Cain, did he? He used that as a mother. He used Cain as a mother, a yeast mother, right? A kombucha mother. And he created Abraham, Sarah, and Isaac. And all of them were chosen because they were broken. Sensei. How does Sensei ingest trauma into the world? And why would he do it? You know how he does it. He breaks families, and then he tells them, I will make you the mother of nations. But first I'm going to break you. Let's get Hagar in here. You guys get this weird threesome going. Let's pimp your wife out to Pharaoh. Let's break you guys emotionally. And then let's have you have all the kids. By the way, your name's not Abram anymore, it's Abraham. You're not Sarah, you're Sarah. You're now Isaac. You've been reprogrammed. You've been chosen as my special boys to wreak fucking havoc in the kiddie pool. Why? Because I'm Sensei. And the people that are here to learn a lesson need an opponent. They need Cobra Commander. So put on this mask and go in there and kick the shit out of them. All of this is Dojo Earth. And it should be compassionate for you to look at the Old Testament as I am now too. Even if you disagree, you should be like, damn, James, I hadn't considered that. That is a different aperture, and I have to give that to you. Or you can say, you're just wrong. You're wrong. It didn't happen that way, even though it did. But you're going to end up saying, no, God never said a word to Moses the whole time. All he did was write everything. It was all text messaging. That's all it was. Meanwhile, you're literally worshiping the Torah, which was inverted by Sabbatai Zevi, who later turned into Frankism. It's all there. It's all there. But you can't, because you're trying to create this new sort of false truth that bypasses all the things that you find painful. Right? This Ira-proof truth. But if it wasn't for Ira, you never would have fucking gotten here. It never would have happened. And that is so scary for so many. Because you like having the Ira. It helps us. Thank you so much, Cole King. That was very generous for that. Happy to catch you live. Love your channel. Thank you, Cole King. Thank you so much. Very, very generous. Same with Joshua Reisman. Yep. And I think there's one more. Your Belinda. You guys have been really generous. Thank you. Dojo Earth is not here to break you. It's here to raise you up taller than you've ever imagined you could go. And right when you think you're done, it's going to tell you, no, you can go higher. It's going to tell you, take the most perfect vision of your life and paint it on a canvas. Do that now. Imagine yourself painting the perfect life on a canvas. And now I'd like you to step into that painting. Yes, step into that painting you just painted of your perfect life, of you crushing. And inside that painting, I would like for you to make another painting of the most perfect life you can imagine. And I want you to step into that one too. And the reason why you had to step into two is because of all the trauma you felt in one is blocking you from even having the correct paints to even think about the fathoming of a perfect life. Because you're scared, you're broken, you think you're not worthy because you forgot why you came in here. And you were supposed to forget why you came in here, but you've just remembered. You are inside Dojo Earth. And you are here because of your potential. And do not let anyone scare you out of that. Do not let anyone tell you what your cosmology should be. Learn to peel Ira's banana and find that even him, even Ira, has some good juju for you. No pun intended on the good juju. Maybe I'm going to claim post pun intended because that's pretty funny. No juju. It's a big dojo. And it's awesome here when you stop pretending like you're a victim. When you realize that no one is doing anything to you except begging for your consent. And when you see them begging for your consent, you start to realize just how precious your consent is. Do you realize how many billions and billions of dollars they spend on trying to gather your consent? I mean, I hope I didn't lose you guys. Yeah, I mean, it's a lot. They waste a lot of energy trying to get that consent off you. Having the same power problems, guys. That's how important your consent is. They'll do anything for it. They'll spend billions and billions of dollars. They won't take it from you. They'll ask with glitter. They'll pave the driveway gold and beg you for it. This is a cathedral. We are in a cathedral of belief. And I swear to you, so many of us are worshiping Sensei because we're afraid he's going to hit us. And you're letting him down because you're too afraid of him. You're afraid of the one guy who's here and asking you to punch him. You're afraid of that guy. And that's okay. He's here to be frightful. He's here to be the perfect Sensei to all of us. You might be, well, James, how do we make him? How do we make this Lord you're saying? This Lord technology? How do we make him? And I think it's part of understanding the profundity of the fractal of this place. That if we look at ancient civilization, we see ourselves continuously rebuilding a Tower of Babel and continuously tearing it down. And that process of gaining knowledge, right? The longer you go through history, the more you've unraveled, right? The apocalypse is the opening of time. It's the unzipping of time, right? To decode something is to decompress it. And as we get more decoded, as we decode more, it requires stronger and stronger punches because you're starting to remember who you are. And you're starting to feel uneasy about worshiping Sensei or worshiping the pin the tail and the donkey game that someone gave you. Because they told you it's a relic. And if you don't worship pin the tail and the donkey and play it every day, God's going to be mad at you. And the whole time God's like, damn, sorry you felt that way. I thought you were coming in to learn some cool moves, man. Get that green belt, maybe that blue belt. Who knows, right? It's Dojo Earth. And only those of you who have strong enough ego can spend enough calories to even look past the kiddie pool and say, I want more. And as more and more of us doing it, it's going to be easier for everyone else. So please consider yourself a trailbreaker in this. Please consider the work you're doing right now vital. It's going to help the students behind you, the students who you already have compassion for. Eventually they're going to see that compassion and they'll use it as a rope to pull themselves closer. You guys have a fantastic day. Go out there and crush your Dojo Earth. That video was from Waking Life, a bridge scene. I have no idea if it's okay to use it. Hopefully it is, but I didn't do it. That was his video. I'll definitely link it in the description. And yeah, James True signing off. We'll see you tomorrow, same James True time. Patrons, thanks for being here. Really appreciate it. Got some good news for you guys coming up tomorrow. We're talking about the documentary we've been working on. That documentary we started back in December. We've already had a couple different film sessions, a couple different episodes have already been out, and we'll tell you more about the next one tomorrow. So I look forward to it. Take care, guys, and thanks a lot for all you do. Let me say bye to chat here. Make sure there's nothing too crazy going on. Hey chat, thanks for being here, guys. There's Snake, Rachel, Lane. You guys are just, yeah, in Dojo Earth, kicking some ass. That's right. I'm a rolling thunder. I like that attitude, ABC123. I like it. That's the right spunk. No victims, no bosses. I love it. Exactly. All right, guys. We'll see you next time. Thanks for being here. Appreciate it. Thanks for helping.